Welcome back to the HVAC Budget Channel. Today I'm excited to be bringing you another fantastic Gerber product. This will be the Gerber Freehand. Now wait to the end of the video. I'll let you know where you can get this, if you can get this, and if it's still made. Alright, so the Gerber Freehand comes out in 2006. Just as a background, the Leatherman Surge first made its appearance in 2005. So 1 year later, Gerber comes out with the Gerber Freehand, and this is advertised as the largest multi-tool of that year. And it's pretty close to being accurate. I think it's almost the same size as the Leatherman Surge, which was huge for its time. So let's look at some of the implements in the Gerber Freehand. So one of the first things we notice is, again, we have these flicking mechanisms. This, in 2007, the Gerber Flick will come out. So first off, the Gerber Freehand comes, and actually then a year later, the Gerber Flick. So one of the things you notice, sort of as I had already reviewed the Gerber Flick, is that once these multi-tools are deployed, you have this nice gap so you do not get pinched. The pliers seem pretty firm. This one has a little bit of wobble still when deployed. The Gerber Flick did not. Could be just as has been used a little bit more. And then we notice that we have these cutting jaws. These are going to be a little different in that they meet at the end, at the other side rather. And then we have this these needle nose. And again, this is a used model, so there is some play in my plier. Doesn't always perfectly meet up, but it seems when you hold it closed, it seems pretty solid. So you do have a pretty precise angle right there. All right, so then again, like the Gerber Flick, we have 4 outside implements, and everything is going to be accessible by the outside. And this is going to be a huge change over Gerber's normal operating procedure. Now we're going to find a serrated knife that looks very different. We've got this almost like safety edge on the end. And then we've got the serrations. And one of the things I noticed on the Gerber Freehand that I do not think is on the Gerber Flick is that we have these nice thumb studs actually, which every implement except one has, which is pretty nice. So then we have this knife as well. It's going to be a fairly long knife. And then we have this pair of scissors, which we'll talk a little bit more later on. And then we have this unique tool in that this is a dedicated ruler pry bar screwdriver. So this is going to be extremely different from many of the normal multi-tools. They would not dedicate a slot just for a pry bar. Now this is reminiscent of what Gerber will update their Gerber center drive, in that will have a pry bar as well. So we can see some of the designs modified. Obviously that pry bar will not be a full tool, but in this one it is. And I actually read some reviews where people really appreciated the full tool pry bar. Many people would want a wood saw or a file, but that's what you get. Alright, and so let's talk about the scissors. Now for its time, many people said that these Gerber scissors were actually the best on the market. Now there was a first generation Surge, so I'm not sure if they were really the best on the market, but one of the best on the market. So for things like cardboard, they do an amazing job, really good. Now we notice that when it comes to things like paracord, which today is sort of considered the standard of multi-tool scissors, they do not do well. And we can see the reason why, in that it's the edge dimension of the scissors. This will be true in the Gerber Freehand and the Flick. So for instance, this is a Gerber Balance. Notice how sharp the angle is on the Freehand, and notice how I'm not sure if you say laid back or anyway, there's a lot more of an angle here. And so when you come to cut paracord, and again, it's going to be easier because you have a lot thinner of a point, where this is a more abrupt angle. And part of it's because I just don't have I've chawed my paracord up as well. But the surge is going to be fairly similar, at least the new style surge, in that it will have a little bit more of an angle as well. It'll be able to cut through, whereas in the Gerber Freehand just has that abrupt angle, and so it chaws through it, and when it gets it into that little groove, it works fine. So for instance, we went on vacation and it was able to cut some Christmas ornament rope really easily because it was thinner. So before you just dismiss the scissors, I think it's just sort of the way the angle was ground. I don't think it necessarily is meant as a rope cutter. And with paracord as thick as it is, I don't think that's what these were designed for. So if that disappoints you and you hate it, then that's your prerogative. All right, so then we come to the next tools, and again, just like the flick, let's see if I can get this here. There we go. And they pop up, and then we've got these minute tools. So this will be the Phillips, this will be the flat edge there, and I have already reviewed the flick, and these will be basically the same tools. Let's see if I can get this in here. I'll go ahead and put these back down, and then this actually grabs pretty well. So it does a pretty good job, and it actually feels like you've got a fair amount of tension, and it feels pretty sturdy in the slot there. I mean, you can get pretty good tension on there. So I know these are micro, the tools, but even so, they still seem to work pretty well. Now that will be a deal breaker for some. All right, and then on the other side, there is a nick here. We've got this can opener, which people have said is the worst can opener in any multi-tool. I think that should just be turned into an awl, just sharpened. And then we've got this more micro screwdriver on this side. All right, so this has been the Gerber Freehand. Now, if you've made it this far, this has been discontinued. You cannot buy it on Gerber's website or any other new website that I know of. So you will have to find these on eBay. These are sort of few and far between. Recently, there's been a lot more flicks and a couple freehands on eBay, but these are going for up to $200, and if you find it for $40 to $50, that's a pretty good deal. These were originally, I think, around $50 new. So these are fast becoming collector's items. I would go ahead and pick one up while you have the chance. Again, let's do a comparison with the Surge. This will come out again 1 year later than the Surge, and this is Gerber's answer at the time to the Surge. One of the things I wanted to mention is closed. The Gerber Freehand is definitely bigger. So when we retract the jaws, look at that. It's actually much bigger. When we take the Surge out here and the Freehand here, they're actually basically the same size. The Surge might, when you put it side by side, just be a hair longer, but they're basically the same size. All right, I hope this has been interesting to you. Another episode of Gerber's Battle with Leatherman, and we will catch you in the next one. Like and subscribe. See you in the next one.